Hello and welcome to yet again another episode of the Seamus Evans Show. This has been a wild week. It's in the news. It's been a wild week. I'm not a politically minded person. I don't like keeping up with the politics. I don't like having an I don't like it. I've never gotten into it. I've tried to over the years. It just bores me. Plain and simply bores me. Also, if I don't like someone or agree with their policies or whatever, I just disengage. It doesn't anger me. I don't get worked up by it. I just back away. Not today, disco lady. Charlie Kirk was murdered by a sniper in front of 2,000 people at a university. Now, I'm sure all of you watching this know who Charlie Kirk is, but essentially, he does the same work that I do. I go to schools, I go to crowds, I go to conferences, and I speak. I'm not going to comment on what he talks about, what his topics are, and the things that he discusses. That's not my monkey. That's not my circus. Just the concept of somebody attracting large crowds, so he's got a following. A lot of people agree with what he's saying. A lot of people disagree with what he's saying. I'm not saying where I stand. I don't really stand anywhere. But someone didn't like what he was saying, so they killed him. That's mental. That's loose. That's hectic that even happened. Not even a week goes by. Jimmy Kimmel, a Tonight Show host who's had his own show for a very long time, makes a comment about Charlie Kirk, the murder, the president, Donald Trump, and the correlation there. I'm not even going to go into what was said because I've found out that a lot of people are actually debating on what he said and was it worth him being fired. Doesn't matter. He said something on his own show, and because of that, he was stood down. 2 people with a large following said something someone didn't like. One was killed, one was cancelled. That is pretty crazy. That is a wild time to live in. This is a not good. What I have found fascinating is that the conversations, the debates, the arguments, the division that I have seen unfold in circles of friends. I've gone into debates about, Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Kimmel, and how these debates very quickly go from, or these conversations rather, very quickly go from, gee, Charlie Kirk was killed in front of 2,000 people. That's hectic. Then very quickly it's, yeah, but he was a bad person. Irrelevant of whether he's a bad person or not. The shooting shouldn't have happened. Then it turns into this debate of arguing what he said was wrong. And then going down this path of debating between right or wrong of a comment out of context. It's been very weird to observe. Then, a week later, Jimmy Kimmel being cancelled, being fired, his show being taken off the air because of a comment. Then, the conversation turns into, well, he shouldn't have been cancelled, but then he shouldn't have said that. Oh my gosh. I have always had the mindset, had the opinion, anybody can say whatever they want. Let the crowd determine. Let the individuals listening or hearing determine if they want to continue listening or not. We can't silence people for having an opinion. We can turn away from those people. We can stop listening to those people, but we can't silence them. That is wrong. Then I have noticed there's a little bit of there is hate speech, which is wrong. And then there's this outside area where people include it as hate speech when technically it's like, hang on, is it though? Or is it just something you disagree with? And that's something might offend you. Does that fall into hate speech? I don't like the semantics of it. What I don't like is that people feel they can end that person, whether it's professionally, whether it's actually ending their life. And just because you don't agree with it or you might be offended, that they should stop talking. I do not align with that. If they offend you, if you don't like what they're saying, walk away. Don't listen, turn off. But I don't think anyone ever has the right to end someone, to kill them, obviously, or cancel them or fire them because you disagree with what they said. That is such a silly, immature, dumb way of thinking. And I think it's so important that we understand as human beings that if you don't like what you're hearing, you can leave. You can walk away. You don't have to continue to engage with that person. It's almost like if you stink, if you're in a public area and you smell, you're at a party and your BO is horrible. All of a sudden, no one's around you. And then you kind of pick up this vibe of, there's nobody around me. Oh, I've got to change. I smell. I should probably do something about it. Okay? But you don't kick the person out. That's a bad example because I probably would. Listen, bro, you stink. Get out of my house. What I'm trying to say is it sends a really big message to an individual. If no one's around to listen, that person is probably going to change their narrative. They're probably going to change topics. They're probably going to change their views because you got to read the room. And if the room is saying, nah, not for me, I'm out, instead of just barraging, attacking, and arguing, which that doesn't silence them, it just gets their back up because no one wants to actually admit defeat. Okay, no one really wants to admit, yeah, I am wrong. Okay, I'm going to change my. Very few people in the world can admit that they're wrong, admit that they're in the wrong, and actually change. When people are accused of being wrong or saying the wrong things or being a racist, a liar, a hater, a homophobe, whatever it is, they very quickly go into defend. Very rarely will someone say that and they go, oh, you're right, you got me, and I'll change my ways. It's typically not how human beings act. They get their back up and they fight. Then there's conflict. But if they just walk away, eventually they're going to learn, hey, why is no one listening to me? Oh, I'm probably saying the wrong things. Well, let's change my mindset. You kind of have to let them come to that realization on their own. I also think, like, we know psychologically, we know that words hurt. We do know that. That saying of sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt us. I grew up with that. I understand that. It has helped me many, many times. Not really take into account what someone has said about me in a teasing way or a bullying way or an offensive way. When my mother said that to me when I was younger, I really listened to it and it did sink in. Obviously, psychology says words hurt. But there has to be an element of an individual taking responsibility for what they allow to hurt them. You cannot go around the world being offended by what someone else says. If you are offended, you've got to handle that offense. You have to manage being offended. If you are hurt by what someone else has said, that is on you. You must learn how to repair that pain. That's not to say you shouldn't feel pain. If you are hurt, if you're offended by words, that is okay. That is normal because words do hurt. But it is on you to repair that damage that those words made. It's not on the other person. You can tell that person, didn't like that, that was offensive. Then it's up to them if they want to change their language or not. You have no control over that other person. You do have control of how you respond, how you react, and how you manage your own feelings, and how you manage your offense or how much you will take it. I made a really strong decision many years ago. I will never be offended by anything. I will never get offended by words, insults, comments, anyone mentioning anything about my Tourette's, my ADHD, being dumb. I don't care what it is. I don't get offended. Now, obviously, we know that that's impossible. Everybody gets offended. It is an emotion, okay? Things hurt. But I have gaslit myself into believing it. And I don't get offended. There might be an instance where somebody close to me takes a real personal dig and a stab. Now, that's a little different because that's a one-on-one personal relationship. But someone who doesn't know me making a comment about me that has no effect on me whatsoever. Nothing. And it shouldn't. I don't know that person. I don't care about that person. I don't care what they said. This is a very scary area to talk about because I know a lot of people, I'm thinking about a lot of people right now who would probably be angry with what I'm saying and would argue with me. And this is what I'm trying to say. I don't think you should argue with me because you disagree. This is my opinion. This is my thought process. This is what I think about myself and I tell myself. This is actually about me. If you disagree with it, you don't have to continue listening to this or watching this. But if you were to attack me, or if you were to openly disagree with me in the comment section, that doesn't change my thought. All that does is make me eye roll and go, oh, here we go. I think it is a very horrible thing what happened to Charlie Kirk, regardless of his political views, whether you disagree with them or agree with them. No one, obviously we know, no one should kill another person. That is a 10 commandment, for goodness sake. It is a law, for goodness sake. We know this. Morality tells us don't do that. And we really shouldn't fire someone for saying something on their television show, unless it breaks a law. Unless it falls under a broadcasting law, they should definitely get a slap on the wrist. It's a very strange time to observe, and assassinations don't really happen in today's world. Like, there have been a few attempts and a couple recently, right? But this is an assassination, a planned hit, a whack, so to speak. That is very uncommon. I've been on this earth for 35 years. I don't think I've ever witnessed one. In person, in my lifetime. I don't know when JFK was assassinated or whoever, but I'll tell you. I wanted to make this episode because I don't comment on political stuff. This is not my area, okay? I don't really like it. Never have. Not my thing. But I wanted to get on and kind of share my thought on it because I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think we as individuals need to grow up. If you're letting someone's words affect you, you need to grow up. Seriously. You can't. Words will, how are you going to survive in this life if you're letting words hurt you? Because you're going to get hurt over and over and over and over and over. That's not to say people shouldn't say those things. I don't think you should. Relax on some of the hurtful, offensive things you're saying to people. But it goes both ways. There has to be an element of having water off a duck's back. You have to learn how to let comments slide. You have to learn how to protect yourself against a friggin' word. I do believe words have meaning. They have weight. They have strength. I watched an interview with Marilyn Manson, and he said that he used to get beaten up, physically bashed every single day at the bus stop, waiting to catch a bus to go to school. And that cyberbullying is nothing. You can just turn your phone off. He would have much preferred to have been cyberbullied than physically beaten up every single day. And I know emotional pain is very painful and it can cause trauma. And if you don't know how to unpack it and deal with it and go through it, it can bring out horrible behaviors and horrible insecurities that cause other problems later in life. But again, that's on you, man. Bad things happen. You have to learn how to handle those. See a psychologist. Unpack your thoughts, unpack your feelings. I really feel like the onus is on you to manage what happens to you. You can't control what happens to you, but you are in control of what you choose to do next. And I really feel like us as humans must take the responsibility of how we handle offense, how we handle words that are spoken to us or about us or at us or about whatever category that you that you are a part of. It's on you on how you handle that and manage that. I think that's really, it's not anyone else's responsibility other than yours. That's all I really wanted to share. This is a short episode and it's a bit of a rant, but I just wanted to. I've never really spoken about politics, and so I kind of wanted to cover an episode on it. So there it is. I hope you liked it. And you know what? I'd love to actually hear your thoughts in the comments section. If you agree with what I'm saying, if you disagree with what I'm saying, if you think Charlie Kirk should have been killed, I want to hear from you. If you think anything about him, what he was saying was a good thing, was it a bad thing, whatever, say it in the comments. I also want to know what you think about Jimmy Kimmel. Should he have been fired? Should he not have been fired? Should he have been cancelled? Can you say those things on such a public forum? Or is the onus on the individual to turn the television station off? I spent many years in broadcast media, and I would really toe the line of what was acceptable and what wasn't. I was very provocative. I really, really toed the line, pushed the envelope, and encouraged people to kind of engage with our content in either a happy or a sad or an angry manner. But the aim was to bring them in and engage. And I would definitely say things that were over the line, under the line, close to the line. And the rule was, hey, if you don't like it, tune out. It's very easy, and you can actually have that control. In fact, people literally have a control in their hands. They can turn off and they can turn on. Now it's a swipe of a finger. You don't like the content, keep swiping, bro. I heard a very interesting theory recently that this is a theory and it's a conspiracy theory, okay? Other countries' governments are hacking our algorithms, and whatever party you might fall into, whether it's a right party or a left party or a conservative or whatever it is, that they fill your algorithms with the opposition's party. And so it infuriates you and creates a divide. And it's the oldest trick in the book of divide and conquer. I thought that was a really interesting theory. And when you think about it, you're like, is this the plan? Anyway, I don't want to get into that stuff. I hate thinking about it. I don't like talking about it. It's fun for hypotheticals to discuss and unpack, but it ain't my jam. So I'd love to know what you think. Do you disagree with what I said? Put it in the comments. Or did you not get this far because you tuned out because it's not for you? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for listening.